Okay, my apologies for the technical difficulties this morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Maryland Public Service Commission. This is an evidentiary hearing in case number 95070, captioned in the matter of the continuing investigation of the electric fuel rate and purchased power cost adjustment charges of Williamsport Municipal Electric Light Plant. Let's start with appearances. Counsel, please identify yourself and the name of your client for the record, starting with Williamsport.
Now
Mr.
can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Sorry, double muted. Your Honor, it's Tom Rudabush of the law firm of Duncan Weinberg, Ginsburg, Pembroke, here appearing on behalf of the town of Williamsport and its electric light department. With me is Mr. Donnie Stottlemyre, who's the town manager, and Chris Sims, who is our consultant.
Thank you. And for OPC?
Your Honor, Joseph Cleaver on behalf of the Maryland Office of People's Counsel.
Okay. And staff? Mr. Wilson, we can't hear you.
Good morning, Your Honor. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Peter Wilson on behalf of the technical staff of the Maryland Public Service Commission, and also with me today is Lucy Shea. She is our witness for this morning's proceeding.
Good morning. I did see that, I guess Mr. Sims on behalf of Williamsport filed the certificate of publication. Mr. Rudabush, did you want to enter that into evidence at this time?
Your Honor, I'd like to have it marked as Exhibit W1, and I hope counsel have had a chance to review it. If I'd like to introduce it into evidence at this time, Your Honor.
Any objections?
No objections, Your Honor.
Okay. WMELP1 will be entered into evidence. I think I saw some of the emails back and forth. I think it makes sense to start with Mr. Sims this morning.
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to call Mr. Sims to the stand, please.
Mr. Sims, can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm under penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please proceed, Mr. Rudabush.
Thank you, Your Honor. Could you state your name and business address, Mr. Sims?
My name is Chris Sims. My address is 506 Lark Lane, Unit 4, Ocean City, Maryland, 21842.
Thank you. And have you prepared exhibits for this hearing?
Yes, I have.
And are there 3 of them?
Yes, that's correct.
I'd like to have, Your Honor, I'd like to have marked as Exhibit W-2 what is labeled as Exhibit CSS number 1.
And that was pre-filed?
That was pre-filed, and it was circulated earlier. I don't know if it could be forwarded to the court reporter or how you want to handle it.
Yeah, I'm going back to the docket. It looks like that was filed on June 24
Correct.
of this year. Okay.
Correct, Your Honor.
Does everyone have it? Yes, okay. What was pre-filed as CSS-1 will be marked as W2.
Mr. Sims, are you familiar with Exhibit W2?
Yes, I am.
And did you prepare it under your direction?
Yes, I did.
Can you briefly state what Exhibit W2 is?
Yes, so this is it shows the historic power supply costs over the past 12 months, and then a forward-looking 15-month forecast, essentially, of power supply costs, and calculating what the PPA and PACA would be for the town's customers to essentially ensure that the collection of power supply costs from customers is on a dollar for dollar basis, both historically and looking forward through the next PPA period. So this quantifies what the PCA should be going through the end of August 2022.
And can you state what is the PCA? What?
So currently the PCA is 0.04606 per kilowatt hour, and the forecast is 0.04438 per kilowatt hour, which is a reduction of about 2% to customers' bills.
Thank you. I was just asking you really to identify what PCA stands for.
Oh, sorry, the PCA stands for Power Cost Adjustment.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Sims, do you also have an exhibit before you marked as W-3 or CSS 2C?
Yes,
And is this a confidential exhibit?
that's correct.
And can you, without divulging any confidential information, can you describe what exhibit W2 is?
Yeah, W2 is specifically the cost for power supply only. So it does not take into account any revenues from customers, but it, excuse me, it is the history and forecast of total power supply costs for the town of Williamsport.
Thank you. And do you also have an exhibit labeled as W-3 in front of you?
That's correct.
And is this a confidential exhibit?
Yes, it is.
And can you briefly describe what exhibit W-3 is?
I think we're on W4.
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor. Excuse me. That is correct. W4 is also known as labeled as CSS 3C. Is that correct, Mr. Sims?
Yes, it is.
And can you briefly describe what exhibit W-4 is?
Yes, so a portion of Williamsport's power supply costs are not included in a fixed dollar per kilowatt hour rate for their wholesale agreement with their supplier. So there are some costs that are passed through essentially at cost, and this delineates what those forecasted pass-through costs will be for the future PPA period.
And Mr. Sims, you've already stated it once, but could you repeat what the overall impact is on customers of this year's re-levelization process?
Yeah, the overall impact to customers, the average residential is going to be about almost a 2% reduction, 1.9%.
Thank you. Mr. Sims, have you had staff's direct testimony in this case?
Yes, I have.
Do you find that it accurately describes the re-levelization process used this year?
Yes, I do.
And when the staff's witness refers to exhibits in her testimony, do you recognize those exhibits as being the exhibits that we've been discussing here today?
Yes, that's correct.
Is the information on exhibits W2 through W4 accurate here today?
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Mr. Sims. Your Honor, the witness is tendered for cross-examination.
Does staff or OPC have questions for this witness?
No questions, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
So, Mr. Sims, since September of 2020, Williamsport billed a PCA, as you said, of $0.04606 per kilowatt hour, correct?
Oh, that's correct.
And that included an ACA factor of 0.00124 per kilowatt hour, correct?
Oh, that's correct.
Okay. What happened over the period under review? Was it a net over collection or a net under collection?
So in the previous period, historical period, essentially there would have been a net over collection, because as looking at W2, The far right-hand column shows the cumulative recovery of power supply costs. And so starting line 1, column M as in Michael, you can see the total collection of power supply costs at the end of June 2020 was negative $25,000. And so at the end of this period through May 2021, that's a smaller under collection. It's only 12,500 that's been under collected. And so there's essentially been a net over collection of power supply costs by about $13,000.
You started out in June 2020 with a negative balance indicating an under collection. Is that what you
That's
said?
correct. Yeah, negative as in that needs to be collected from customers. Yes, that they have under collected by that 25,705.
But at the end of August 2021, you're projected to still have a negative balance.
That's correct.
I understand it's less of a negative balance, but it's still negative.
Yes.
So is that a net under collection or a net over collection?
Well, the cumulative figure that exists is still an under collection. I thought you meant specifically power supply costs over those past 12 months. Yeah, while there has been an over collection of power supply costs during those 12 months, it hasn't been enough to eliminate the balance. So there still exists money essentially that's owed to the town from customers.
Okay. Because a lot of times the testimony in these cases, and I know in the previous case, we'll talk about whether there was a net under collection and a net over collection. In this case, I didn't see that type of testimony. So, and I understand how you got to the negative $12,570.38 that needs to be collected. I guess just what I'm trying to understand was in the last case, if you looked at your CSS-1 in case number 9507N, the total ACA to collect in that case was negative as well. It was negative $22,594.86. And the testimony in that case was that Williamsport expected to experience a net under recovery. But then in that case, the PCA was increased because of the under recovery. So what I would like you to explain is why is it because your power supply costs are being reduced at such a rate that even though there was an under collection, an under recovery, you can still decrease the PCA in the upcoming period?
I mean, that is essentially correct. Yes. The last 2 months, I believe, let me look at Exhibit W3, my exhibit CSS2C. So I won't say what the exact numbers are, but in column D, that shows the rate from our supplier. And notice that from May 2022 down there on line 30 down to June 2022, that rate decreased by almost 10%. And so that's a very significant reduction. So even though we've had some increase in costs from the transmission costs from the NITs, that 3-month reduction in the rate is significant enough that we can still pass through a reduction to customers.
Thank you. Did you want to enter his exhibits, I guess exhibits W2, W3, and W4 into evidence now, Mr. Rudebush?
I do, Your Honor, but could I ask for a clarification first?
You want to redirect your witness, you mean?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Sims, you referred to, you said the word NITS. Could you just explain for the record what that is?
Yeah, the NITS stands for Network Integration Transmission Service. And those charges are, those are for the transmission owner, which in our case is First Energy Company. And it's in order for the town of Williamsport to be a member of PJM, they have to be a network transmission customer. So they have to get their transmission service from the transmission owner, which is First Energy. And as I alluded to, they just recently filed for a pretty significant increase in that transmission rate at the end of last year. And so the transmission costs have gone up for the town, and expect those to continue to increase into the future.
Thank you, Mr. Sims. I really just wanted to explain what the acronym meant.
Okay.
I
Yes,
appreciate the
except that
explanation.
his extended answer to that question leads me to another question. Those increased transmission costs that you just referred to only started in January of 2021, correct?
That's correct.
So if that's a significant increase in costs, are you concerned that next year there will be a significant under recovery since you're reducing the PCA this year?
So the NITS rate is fixed every calendar year, and so I can say with essentially with the exception of there is settlement hearings on what the rate should actually be. So they are being charged a NITS rate that is subject to refund if the settlement proceedings, which could take months or years, in all intents and purposes, it's fixed on a calendar year basis. And so I don't know what it could increase to be next year. It really depends on the transmission projects that First Energy proposes, and there's really not much we can do about it. But I can say that the average NITS cost on a dollar per megawatt year basis for First Energy's zone is the lowest by far of nearly every other transmission owner in PJM. And so I fully expect the transmission costs in the First Energy zone to eventually reach the levels that it is everywhere else. So we've been getting a discount over the last 20 years or so. It's about time that we're going to be sounds like we're going to be catching up to everyone else.
Mr. Sims, and the case you're referring to is.
I was asking, sorry, a slightly different question, which was, do you think you've properly accounted for that charge since it only began in January 2021, which is only a portion of the period under review?
Yeah. So okay, I see what you're saying.
Hang on just a second.
So the NITS costs are fixed on a calendar year basis. So every calendar year, those NITS costs would change. So the what was charged in January and it's based on the number of days in the month. So January's NITS cost are going to be identical to March's NITS cost.
No, I understand that. I guess I'm asking, you didn't account for September, October, November, and December NITS costs because they didn't exist, right?
You mean in 2020? That's correct.
Correct. That's all. That's my question is slightly different. I'm just wondering if the fact that those costs didn't start until January 2021 will have any significant impact on what happens in the next period because you didn't have those costs for the full period under review.
Well, they are included in these power supply cost forecasts for the months that we don't have yet. So June 2021, July 2021, August 2021, it has those increase in NITS costs baked in here. And it also has it for the actual ones, February through May. It is included there as well. So it has been accounted for. All full 12 months of costs for 2021 are included in this forecast, in this document.
Okay. Back to you, Mr. Rudebush. Did you want to?
Thank you, Your Honor. No, I think I better stop while I'm ahead. Your Honor, I'd like to have entered into evidence exhibits W-2, W-3C, and W-4C.
Any objections?
No objections, Your Honor.
Okay. Hearing and seeing no objections, W-2, W-3, and W-4 are entered into the record. Staff.
Yes, Your Honor. Staff would call Lucy Shea to the stand. And we would ask that the pre-filed direct testimony of Lucy Shea dated July 12, 2021 be marked for identification as Staff Exhibit 1.
So marked.
Ms. Shea, can you state your name, work address, and position with the commission for the record, please?
Good morning. My name is Lucy Shea. My work address is 6 St. Paul Street, Baltimore, Maryland, 21202, and I'm a public utility auditor.
In that capacity as a public utility auditor, did you prepare and cause to be filed as mail log 236090, the direct testimony of Lucy Shea dated July 12, 2021?
Yes, I did.
And you have that testimony before you now?
Yes, I do.
Is that testimony true and correct to your knowledge, information, and belief?
Yes, it is.
Do you have any corrections or additions to that pre-filed testimony?
No, I don't. But I believe I haven't been sworn in.
That would be true. Can you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm under penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And everything you've said up till this point was true and accurate?
That's true.
Okay. Sorry, please proceed.
Okay. If you have no corrections and additions, then I will move, Your Honor, for the admission of staff Exhibit 1 and pass the witness for cross-examination.
Okay. Any objections to the admission of staff Exhibit 1?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Hearing and seeing no objection, staff Exhibit 1 will be entered into the record. Good morning, Ms. Shea.
Good morning.
In case 9507N, one of the things that was discussed was the FERC settlement EL 05-121-009 with PJM. It was defined as the Transmission Enhancement Settlement. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. And I believe the monthly charges beginning in January 2020 had been reduced to $228 per month. Is that still being passed through and is part of the PCA in this case?
The transmission enhancement settlement is now being charged at a rate of $178.63.
Okay,
Each
but it's
month.
still charged monthly.
Yes, PJM PJM says it could go to 2025, those fees.
Okay, and that is separate and distinct from the Network Integration Transmission Service, or NITS rate, correct?
Yes.
And you described that NITS rate as, and that's for the record, is $1,055.41 as an additional monthly charge and a formula-based rate, correct?
Yes.
Can you explain at all what the formula is based on?
I can do as best as I can. In October of 2020, PJM Interconnection and South First Energy companies filed a docket with FERC to request that FERC uses a formula rate and associated protocols that establish network integration transmission service. So they filed to have the NITS calculated in a different manner. I don't have the details to describe what the formula is.
It was a fixed rate before.
Well, it was a fixed rate for 1 year, and then it will be revised after January 1st.
Okay, so there was no NITS charge prior to January 2021.
Just one moment. No,
Okay.
not to my knowledge.
Okay, but otherwise you agree with what Mr. Sims said, that because you were the witness in case 9507N,
Yes.
and your testimony was that Williamsport expected to experience a net under recovery in that case of approximately $22,595 for the period under review. And in that case, the ACA was then going to increase as it did for this current period. But as we discussed, even though there's still been an under recovery, we're going to decrease the PCA in the upcoming year, which is a little unusual. Usually if there's an under recovery, you increase it, and if there's a over recovery, you decrease it, just generally, right?
Yes, I can offer one thing, but I need to make sure that it's not confidential about amendments to the power contract.
Well, we did discuss how the total power supply cost it's been reduced over the last few years. Is that what you're?
Yes, I'm saying that plays a part in this calculation, still being a decrease from last year.
Okay, and that's what Mr. Sims testified to as well. So I just wanted to make sure you concurred with that.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, is there anything else we need to discuss at this time?
I don't believe so, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor.
I am actually leaving on vacation today, so an order won't come out right away, but I will get an order out when I return.
Have a great vacation.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Sorry again for the technical difficulties. I have to figure out why WebEx insists on doing that to me, but hopefully we'll be in person in the fall. So take care, everyone.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.